Well, what's up, folks? It is Friday Eve, Thursday night for those who like to keep track of the days of the week. And yes, it is episode 165. And with us tonight, the all-star lineup starting with the former Texas Ranger, the hometown native, Kevin Mench is on with us. Also joining us is Caitlin. And a few of the Dunkin Dad will be joining us as well. So we'll get into some Phillies talk because obviously game one will be tomorrow night. As far as we all know, we know that they closed up the top at Minute Maid Park because tomorrow it is supposed to rain, but nevertheless, it's not going to rain on anyone's parade as we look forward to game one, Astros, Phillies in the World Series. And it is so nice to say that. And yes, I could have been in my Broad Street South gear, but keeping the tradition, as I've been doing with all the other shows that we've been winning, well, why not keep the Phillies gear? And also because, obviously, to root for the hometown team. So, with that being said, we saw a trade also that Howie continues to do magical things, and we're all trying to understand how in the world Howie is getting away with all this. But nevertheless, another big trade, and one of the former teammates from Chicago ended up crying because he lost his best friend. I would play the video, but I think the man's already heard enough, so I'm not going to bring it up. But so much to get into. It's going to be a ton of information, fun, laughter, tears. God knows what will end up happening tonight, as we know that game one, once again, is less than 24 hours away, and we cannot wait and see exactly what ends up happening. So our guests, as I mentioned before, so you guys can see, and you can follow him there on Twitter, Kevin Mench at KevinMench28, the Dunkin Dad with the underscores and no filter, and Caitlin, and the way she has it down, if I do remember correctly, it is C8LIN, if I do remember correctly, so you guys can follow them. And as I always say on the show as well, don't forget while you're on Broad Street South, and if you're viewing us from YouTube, to like and subscribe to the show because, well, it helps keep the lights on, even though really it doesn't because we only have 100 subscribers, so it's not like everybody else who's up in the thousands. But nevertheless, we like to make sure that we like to keep the lights on around the studio around here. So with that being said, we like to get the show started underway. We thank you from everyone from overseas, Brazil, Africa, Spain, Russia, China, here in the U.S., our friends to the south, and especially to our friends in the north. We appreciate you all coming on and join us. And let's get the show underway. Episode 165. I'm Angel, and welcome to Broad Street South. Now to make some adjustments here on the screen, because normally Fuji, of course, will be on, and I'd be saying something about Fuji and something else in retrospect to him. But because we have the rest of the gang, we'll bring them all on here all at once. Thank you, first of all, for Kevin, for you to coming on. Caitlin joining us as well, and then our sports contributor, Sean Kilrain, and back from, I don't even want to say from the dead. I mean, this guy's been hiding in between Alaska, Egypt. He's been traveling all around the world. It is our national correspondent. Matter of fact, you know what? I think Ryan's been hiding under the KC bleachers. Ryan, first of all, how are you, sir?
I am fine, Angel. Great to be with everybody tonight. Phillies, Eagles, hockey in full gear. Got my Blackhawks hat on. So World Series tomorrow. A little bit later on in the year for the World Series this year, just because they started a little bit later. So let's get into it, man. I'm ready.
No, definitely indeed. And Caitlin, first of all, thank you for joining us here as I've been reaching out to you and you coming on here on the show, because we know that the passion you have, like a lot of us, for the Sixers, although not the start that we wanted to see from Doc Rivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on and letting me join you. Yeah, quite a bit to say about Doc and the team right now. I mean, I think the play is kind of speaking for itself, sadly, but hoping for, well, I think there'll be a turnaround, but who will be leading them through that turnaround, I think that's to be determined.
That's for sure. And before I bring the man on himself, the host of Big Head Pod, which, by the way, if you guys do not subscribe to the channel from the Dub Network, please subscribe because, again, it helps out everybody. But just show a little highlight for Kevin before we get the show underway here.
The pitch. Swung on, hit high and deep to left field. Boy, is this ball crushed. This ball is gone. Holy smokes. It's a 6-5 game, and Kevin Mench has done it. The home run is his 7th consecutive game, and that makes him A right-handed batter that is doing something that simply hasn't been done before. He has homered in 7 straight games. He is the first right-handed hitter in Major League history to homer in 7 consecutive games.
Now, I know it's a flashback to the past here, Kevin, but nevertheless, I'm pretty sure it could be something good, it could be something bad, but apparently you were on a good streak there.
Yes, I was, and it was tied this year by South Jersey's own Mike Trout.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get him on the show at some point, and talk to him about it, and just see him. And he actually tied the record in Cleveland, where I set the record. So it was pretty interesting. And I said, if it couldn't happen to a better guy, he's a Philly guy, he's an Eagles fan. I mean, what else do you need? So I'm glad to share the stage with him with that aspect. The records are made to be broken, so now he and I have the 2 righties to do it.
That they definitely are, but I'm wondering, Kevin. Again, we can speak hypothetically here, but do you think that Mike Trout should have just bit the bullet out there in L.A. and decided to say, you know what, maybe when Bryce had reached out to me, I should went to Philly?
I mean, I don't know. In hindsight, I guess it really depends on how bad you want to come home. Some guys take less to come home. Some guys defer, on the back end to bring other talent around to win. I don't know. It's tough. I think Judge turned down a huge contract at the beginning of the year because he wanted more money. I mean, at some point, what do you do? I mean, he would have been a god. Michael would have been a god coming to Philly, growing up right here watching the Phillies. So, but I don't know. You never know. He could get traded, right? I mean, Stanton got traded after he signed that huge deal to lose 100+ games with the Marlins because they had no more money to spend. So, and I'm sure he's struggling with, as far as they finish in 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
In the AL West. So, I mean, it's got to be frustrating to, for that to see, and then being so far away from, where you want to be. But I'm sure as soon as Bryce said something, that's when the Angels said, all right, we got to throw something at him that nobody can match.
No, that's for sure. And it's the same way on the flip side, of course, if we go back to the Rangers side, the Rangers making a pretty good signing for their skipper. And I didn't see that coming. And I thought Bochy, from what I understand, I thought he was going to be retired. So I'm wondering how in the world did the Rangers pull that one out?
I'm sure that there was something in the works in the last few months of knowing that what their plan is. I mean, nowadays baseball's become a me first sport, right? It's that new school, it's about me, the bat flips, the constant taunting, and maybe they're trying to get that away from that. Bochy's an old school guy, and that's what you want, and that's what you're expecting your players to be, and hopefully he can squash that. And I know he and Chris have had a relationship before, so I'm sure they've done their homework. I just thought it would be drawn out a little bit more. I mean, heck, the season just ended, regular season, 3 weeks ago, and they've signed somebody.
It's pretty incredible the way it ended up working out. But hey, listen, it's only good obviously for the Rangers, because we know the Astros have been running Texas now for the last 4 to 5 seasons. And then the Rangers have been trying to make things work. We've seen a lot of their players obviously evaporate, like we've seen other teams do as well. Their farm system, they're trying to rebuild it back up. So the Rangers have a little ways to go. I don't want to say a way to go, because it seems like they are, give it 2-3 seasons maybe from trying to turn things around. For Bochy there, who knows? Maybe things could turn on a lot faster than we thought of. But you being with other former teams, well, the Brewers, being with the Nationals, with Toronto, and obviously with the Rangers, but out of all the teams you end up playing on, and I'm pretty sure you've probably been asked this before, which one to you just it made maybe more of that home feeling, being back from the Delaware area and the Delaware Valley area? What team most solidified your career? Here in Texas,
Mr. Hicks took very good care of us as an organization, right? The fans, we were he had just purchased the Dallas Stars as well. He buys a team plane, so we're able to fly on our own aircraft, drive, go. Anything we really needed, he took really good care of us, and from even the family members. It was home, and the fans were into it. And I know we were chasing pitching. I think it was the 05 season. Millwood, was it 05? I think Millwood came on, and we were in it till the end of until the last week of the season. And you were just hoping that one more move would be made in the offseason to kind of solidify that pitching to be able to really put us over, because we could hit with the best of them. It was just the problem was the pitching part of it, and it's tough. I mean, now you see, these guys, the careers these guys are having that are extended. It just seems like the pitching hasn't developed through the Rangers organization like it has with, say, Houston. So, I mean, Nolan left here, I think, after the 10 season, goes to Houston, and Houston just continued to climb. It seems like their minor league system is pretty – I don't pay attention to the minor league system, but it seems like they just continue to produce guys, whether it be pitch, and then bringing in the right group of guys as far as pitching to kind of solidify that team to put them in that run that they've been on.
Well, you're absolutely right. I think it's going to be. I want to see what's going to happen with the Rangers next year. Obviously, we know that. As a series, and we'll figure out who's going to be playing where, as far as not where they're going to be playing where, but as far as the length of the series itself. But then come next year, because I'm pretty sure knowing Bochy, he's not going to take too much time off. Now being signed after he gets his formal introduction with the team, I'm pretty sure he's going to go right to work like he's done with other teams in the past. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what's going to happen with the Texas Rangers next year. And even though, yes, we know that the Astros are dominant there, but I just want to see where the organization end up going. But other than them and your former team as well with the Nationals, you talk about a major collapse. How in the world did that even come about?
That's kind of hard to explain as far as a team going from what they won was 19 was the World Series.
Yeah,
they won the World, and then have that much of a decline. I don't know. It starts with ownership. I don't know, but it just seems that whole thing really just imploded. I don't know if they've bad trades. That's above my pay grade as far as a player. We don't worry about who they're trading, who's in this and that. We're just doing our job. So, but I'm sure that it has a mental effect on you. Here's Juan Soto, just for saying, or the cornerstone of the organization. You want to lock up long term, and he wants no part of it. So that there had to be something going on internally that we don't know about.
Well, and the bad part was too is how in the world for the All-Star game, how do you not fly him out there? You basically tell him he's got to take a commercial flight. Come on, are you kidding me?
The Lerners are the richest owners in baseball of the Nationals. They're the richest owners, and I don't know what that was all about. That's just, even as a player that's in that clubhouse, that's when really the dominoes start to fall. Going, wait, our owner can't fly our lone All-Star representative out. There's something going on. So there's some coaches that I know that are over there. I haven't had a chance to really talk about it with them. Right. I'll just wait till they kind of let the dust settle a little bit and then go from there.
Well, I want to see what's going to end up happening with the Nationals. Obviously, the big talk this year was the Mets Braves. Obviously, Mets Braves are done. Phillies took care of the Braves. Mets pretty much took care of themselves, as I keep saying over and over again. St. Louis, and we always see, Kevin, and to me it's always interesting. St. Louis can be, I don't know how in the world that organization does it year after year after year. They could be down as much as 15 games going into September, and St. Louis always finds a way to come back. And then you figure that you make this stretch, and we've seen them do it, many years in a row, these historical runs. And the Phillies, which if you look at the bullpen, the middle part of the bullpen, we all know it's a struggle. Somehow they've taped themselves together, whether it be in a Band-Aid, a cassette tape, you name it, duct tape, whatever they've done to be able to get to where they are this season. But I would like to see what's going to end up happening with the Nationals. I think it's going to be more of a fire sale more than anything else. With the Mets, the owner keeps saying he still wants to keep spending more money, add more to the payroll. As soon as the season was over, he talked about how much more they wanted him spending. But you take someone like the Phillies at this point, with the Phillies, they're not going to spend, I don't believe, they're not going to spend a whole bunch of money the way you look at it and to still be able to develop their farm system. Because, being down here in Clearwater, in the area down here in Tampa Bay, there's not much coming out of the farm system other than Andrew Painter, who came up. But here, it's going to be a tough struggle to be able to get this farm system to get up to Reading, to keep going to the Iron Pigs, and keep going up from there. So I want to see between the Nationals and the Phillies what we're going to end up doing this offseason, because it's going to be beyond interesting at that point. But And also, when you get Mike Trout on, by the way, you'd have to let me know because I want to see and hear what he has to say because that's going to be a beyond interesting conversation because we all know that he's always there for the Eagles games. And I know he wants to obviously make his own postseason legendary contribution, but it might be a little while before LA comes around. So I'm not too sure what's going to be happening. But we got a comment coming in here. It says, "Good evening, gents. At the Bucks game." Oh, I already know who this is. It's Dylan. Kevin, I had to ask a question. I covered the FSI. What was your time like with Port Charlotte?
That was fun. You're 22 years old. You're in Florida, which in Florida State League is by far the best league in all of baseball, other than Major League. Your longest trip was 3 hours. We would go over to Daytona, Vero Beach, West Palm, or half of our time was spent in Tampa. Because Dunedin, Clearwater, Tampa, the Yankees. Gosh, who else? Dunedin. And then so you spent your 22 years old. You're in Ybor City, 60, 80 days out of the summer, and you go to the beach during the day. You get rained out at batting practice, and it's a baseball player's dream when you're 21, 22 years old and just been playing on a beach all the time. It's by far Port Charlotte. I think was the second oldest community in America. So the Rangers, when they left there, they go to Surprise, Arizona, which is probably the oldest community in America. So, and then Tampa moves in, and I think they've just renovated that whole area. I haven't been down there since they moved in, but you can't ask for a better place to play.
No, that you surely can. But Mike Klein says, "Hello, Kevin. It's Mike Klein here in Tampa, Florida. Miss hanging out with you when I was back in Dallas. Give me a call sometime. Let's catch up. We are Tampa, Philly to South. Mike Klein." Down here doing. Listen, I love the guy to death. Sometimes he drives me nuts.
He told me he had 2 dogs, one, and they were named Dallas and Sucks.
Yeah, he does, and they're about that big. They're not big whatsoever, but every time when we're at Tampa Joe's, which is my sponsor here at Broad Street South, but when we're down there, he tells everybody all the time that is like his. He could have it on a back of a business card. He's hilarious. Like Mike. That's the one thing he runs well, let me give him kudos because he's probably still listening. He runs a really good club. The Philly to South, by far, it's a great time. A lot of Eagles fans that are down here in the Tampa area, and Mike does a great job. Michelle helps him out a whole bunch. It's a lot of fun when we all get together, but Mike does an outstanding job. I will say that much. But yeah, Mike is he's quite the character, but he's a good guy. Big heart for sure.
Really? Wow.
So it's always a good time. And by the way, I did see that the Dunkin Dad has made his arrival. Mike, how are you this evening?
Good. A little bit of a late arrival, taking care of some family matters between the bridges, but all set, all ready to go. So looking forward to it. Thanks for having me here.
No problem. I was telling everybody you were fueling up your jet, and you had to make sure that you got home on time. So that was my story I was running with. So I forgot to tell you that one.
Darn it. You got to bring me up to speed next time, man. I didn't miss that text message.
Sure. No problem. But listen, Ryan, because I've been taking up most of the time here. Ryan, I don't know if you have a question or not for Kevin.
Kevin, let's talk a little World Series beginning tomorrow. Let me pull up some stats for you here. So in the playoffs so far, Phillies on-base percentage is second at 750%. Houston's third at 708%. I think that like right there in second and third throughout the playoffs through the categories. Don't you think that this series is going to come down to starting pitching against starting pitching? I think the Astros have the advantage in this. The Phillies are going to have to try and hit Verlander probably in game 1. But what is your take on? I think it's going to come down to the 2 pitching staffs.
When you hit the postseason, numbers go out the window. You start over. That was clearly evident by the first few rounds of the playoffs, right? You're a 6. It doesn't matter. All it takes is a team to get hot and go on a run, you've seen that with the Phillies. They continue to pick each other up when it seems like they have nothing left in the tank. I know they had the bullpen day, right, where it seemed like they were pulling people out of the stands to pitch, and they just continued to swing the bat and be the team that they were capable of when they left spring training. They, the talent that they had, it seems like now they're starting to to get that roll going, and that's what it's about. The only thing that I'm really worried about is this time off right now. But like I said, these numbers and everything go out the window. You got NOLA tomorrow. I think Wheeler's going on Saturday. So I mean, if they could squeeze one of those games out, because it's going to be nuts in Philadelphia. The fans are going to. I know Monday's Halloween. They were talking about the kind of who's going to be dressed as trash cans up in Philly. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be loud, and that's what they're going to use that to their advantage. And they could steal one here in Houston, and just playing the game that they've been playing since they started this playoffs. The two strike hits, Gene Segura with swinging at balls that are bouncing in the dirt, getting hits and stuff. That's the stuff that they're going to need to win the small ball.
So, Sean?
Who do you think on the team's going to stand out? In my personal opinion, I think it's going to be Nick Castellanos. I think he's due for a big game.
He was brought in for a purpose. It just right now it seems like he's overthinking it too much. The hitting coach for the Phillies, Kevin Long, Chickenhead, he was my hitting coach in Arizona Falling in 2000. So I know what Kevin's about. And I'm just sitting here watching Nick swing the bat. It just seems like he's overthinking it a little bit too much. You get to that level, you've got to, you're slowing the game down. It seems Bryce is doing that, slowing this game down to where I'm sure the ball looks like a beach ball right now. And that's what you want. You've got, I'm from what I'm seeing, what's going to help carry it is going to be the bottom of that lineup. It's going to be a Bryce Estott. It's going to be, Segura. Somebody down there. Marsh right now, I don't think he could fall out of the boat and hit water right now. It just seems like he's struggling way too much. The swing that he takes is long, loopy. They elevate a fastball. He has zero chance to hit it right now. And I'm sorry. As a former player watching that, it's tough to watch. I know they don't have many more options with it, but the bottom of their lineup is going to be the thing that's going to carry them because Houston can swing the bat if they get hot. And we're doing the same thing. So, it could be like that 93 World Series with the Phillies when it was, 15-14 against the Blue Jays. Remember? And so, that could be one of these games, especially in Houston. That place, you can throw a ball out of that ballpark. It's so small. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think is going to be the big part is the bottom half of the lineup.
Caitlin?
Wow.
I actually have a question. Thinking about kind of like jumping back to the Bruce Bochy thing that you were just talking about, like the way players are being, brought up in the system nowadays. We see here in Philly, we had Joe Girardi, who was like the full-on analytics guy, didn't work. Rob Thompson, the down-to-earth old school baseball guy, that's working. Then you have, like guys like Bruce Bochy and Tony La Russa who are, still, obviously Tony La Russa didn't work out, but, they're still around and they're still getting hired and they're still being brought in places. But do you ever think there'll be a time where like somebody like a Gabe Kapler or somebody that's super analytical will be able to kind of bring those teams to like the next level with the way that people are being brought up through the system now? Or do you think there'll always be that old school like touch that's still going to be around?
That's a question you can ask. You ask fans. Everybody says, "What do you guys?" They're getting fed up with baseball. Look at the end. They struck out 40 times, whatever, in 4 games. It's this all or nothing swing. We talk about it on social media all the time. Guys are throwing harder, but they're teaching longer swings. So it's what are they trying to do? There's the small ball. I grew up. I'm a Phillies fan. I grew up watching National League baseball. Right, guys bunting, hit and run. That's the stuff that wins games. It's this all or nothing. It was that the Mariners in Houston game that went 18 innings. Everybody's trying to hit home runs every time. That game probably could have been over 8 innings before if they'd have just played small ball. But the problem is the mentality that these guys have is dip and drive and just try and lift everything they can. They're not, like I said, they're playing for themselves. They're not playing for the team, right? Philadelphia is a blue-collar town. They want to see the nitty-gritty, the hard work, the little stuff, right? The bunt them over. The swing that Segura took against St. Louis in that Friday night game that he hit basically out of the dirt and just shot it past second base. That's what wins games, not this big home run mash type of stuff, right? I mean, look at the Phillies series. There wasn't a lot of runs scored except for the one night. So, and that's what it's going to take. And these old school managers are trying to get back to it. Numbers are terrible, right? Numbers don't tell you how you're feeling, what somebody's feeling in the box. You know, they're telling you that he throws a slider at 83% of the time and 26% humidity at 7:37 at night. You don't care what. Just tell me what he throws, how hard he throws it, right? Let me go to work. It's that the players today are more reactive. They're not proactive in doing what they basically have to be told what to do. You look at guys. Hell, a guy's cell phone's falling out of his pocket. He's sliding into third base. Are you serious? I mean, and there's no accountability either, right? Between from these new guys, right? They're going to say something, but the analytics, the numbers say. I don't care what the numbers say. I want to see with my eyes what somebody can do. The numbers say, well, that's not going to work here, right? I don't care. I'm going to go ask somebody, how are you feeling, right? They have, I think they're color coordinated, red, green, and blue or something for pitching. Well, he's blue or something. He can't. I'm going to go ask him how he feels. How are you feeling tonight? Are you good for maybe a batter? Perfect. That's what I want to hear. I don't care about these analytical numbers, and that's the problem. It's too much information. There's no more baseball. Guys are just throwing the ball now. They're not pitching, right? Guys are just swinging. They're not hitting the ball. When I was playing, guys were surgical, right? Guys hit and run. Ooh, hit the ball over there. That guy's with this way. Pull it this way. You don't see that anymore, do you? Right? And that's why the team batting averages are atrocious. The Mendoza line is going to be a Hall of Fame number here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what these old school managers are wanting to do. That's why they're still hanging around, because they can do it. It's just a matter of maybe somebody in the front office saying, right, the nerds, the baseball nerds, well, the numbers say that he's not going to work this and that, right? I think it was a hockey game one night when the guys came in, was looking at an iPad, one of the players grabbed it and threw it. I mean, that's all it is. You learn by watching the game, being involved in it, not looking at an iPad. Yeah, you can look at your bat, but spend time on the dugout, watch the game, see what's going to happen. That's the only way to get better at it, is to absorb it, right? All these kids want is more. All right, here's another book. Let me read this book. Here's another. More information, right? They become robots, and they just can't think.
Yeah.
And that's why hitters' careers are going to do this, and pitchers are going to start doing this. Don't get me on my soapbox.
Ryan?
Kevin, just real quick, talking about the Game 5 of the NLCS. This is where I have a problem with today's game. So it's the top of the ninth. Padres are at bat. Melvin decides to bunt with one out to advance the runners to second, third. I almost was ripping my hair out. You do it with no outs. You know, you're only down a run. I understand you don't want to hit into a double play, but now you're only working with one out. Your thoughts?
And this goes back to everything that we deal with most today in society. We only get a snippet of what happened. We don't know exactly the conversation that was had. Was it Trent Grisham could have said, "Hey, Skip, what are your thoughts? You know, it's wet, left-handed pitcher. If I can get I can drag a bunt over here. We put two guys in scoring position, take the chance of a wet ball that he airmails to the bleachers, and we score a run." Or was it, the numbers say if we bunt here, is it going to? We don't know. We can only assume from what we see. At that point, as a coach, you're going, hey, whatever you feel that you're going to help us in the best, because you had a right-handed batter coming up. And I don't know, are they still doing this stupid rule? You have to face so many batters before you can change a pitcher out. Like I said, baseball it's hard to watch sometimes. So we don't really know what that situation was like. If he gets the bunt down, airmails the ball, he's the greatest person in the world, right? And then so it's a double-edged sword. You do it, you don't. And it was, I mean, the rain that I saw on TV, there were some angles where it looked like it was raining hard, and it was. So who's to say that ball just didn't, when he went to bunt it in normal dirt, takes off towards first base, and it hit that clump of crap and just sat there, and then he was able to make a play on it. So And then Nola goes up and swings at the first pitch. Thank you very much for doing that, by the way. But
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, whatever it is. But there's always more to the story than what we see. So, and that's what people that knee-jerk reaction. Oh my gosh, what was he doing? We don't know. Be able to ask Trent one day what happened. What were your thoughts? And then you can go from there.
That's true. Dunkin Dad.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good.
Kevin,
How are you?
nice to meet and speak officially. Always love getting the inside take. One of the biggest things I really go back to, especially with baseball, is the organic sort of chemistry that develops with these teams who have postseason success, where you're not necessarily looking for that success, and that it's something that it really can't be manufactured, right? It's a feel, and I think old school managers, old school players, yes, the analytics, we love information, we love to put all out there, play the odds, whatnot, but when you get down to the crux of it, when these guys are on the same page, when they're picking each other up, when Harper goes out in the middle of the season and the team holds itself above water, goes on a little winning streak, and he comes back and he's not doing really well. He's going into the playoffs kind of, we don't know where he's going to be, but 2 or 3 hits, he gets locked in. He catches a foul ball the right way, and he's like, you know what? That's the sound, that's the guy, and it trickles down. Here comes Hoskins, he gets back into it. The pitching starts to come up as well. Speaking of all of that chemistry and having that vibe and being on the same page, my question to you, is that I think it's a great advantage for the Phillies to have started each one of these series on the road and not at home, knowing that they're going to come back to Citizens Bank and it's just going to be electric. What's your take on that?
You're right. As far as the emotion that comes back, with you're amped up, you're at home, and then you go back to Harper when he got hurt. You're right. You're just trying to tread water, knowing that at some point the Braves and the Mets were going to battle this out, and for them to be able just to sustain that, to get these guys to where they are, and to get in, right? They're playing with house money right now. They were written off by everybody first round play. You look at all the charts they had. They never had Philadelphia going anywhere. They were going to lose to whoever it was, and that was it. And that kind of stuff right there is the stuff that the players take as, hey, that's just fuel for the fire that helps them to get going. I told you, once you hit that postseason, everybody's 0-0. They start that, and going from there, they just, they're a young bunch. They feed off of that. They're able to use it to make them as one, right? You don't see it. You don't see any animosity. You see them having fun too, which is what you want, right? You don't see the pressure on them. It's, hey, this is fun, right? And then being in Philly, the fans feeding off of that makes it, even more fun for them. So, being down there, I'm sure, like I said, they're just having fun. Like I said, the only thing I really worry about is this time off, but maybe it gave them a chance to whatever little bumps and bruises they had to get over it. And we'll find out tomorrow night. Like the first 3-4 innings tomorrow night I think are going to dictate how this series goes because of how they're going to respond being down there. Houston fan, they're not Philly fans. Nobody's Philly fans, right? Unless you get up in New York and stuff, but they're just not. It's not the hostile environment that they're used to going to, playing in New York, playing in Atlanta or something. But I think that, like I said, those first few innings are going to dictate how this series is going to go. And you'll be able to tell right away where the nerves are and what their thought processes are.
That's why I'm hoping Kevin, they squeeze out game 1 because I think it's been vitally important for the Phillies. I think if you take game 1, lose game 2, obviously then you have the great shot of winning it at home. And that's what Sean and I were talking about before the show started, that I feel like they would end up taking game 1. We saw with the Rays when they ended up doing it in 2008. I'm hoping for the same feels here in 22. So I'm hoping they'll be able to pull off game 1. But on the Philly Sports Trips hotline, the introduction I can make for this man, I guess, is only one way. So let me do it this way here. Because he hails from the Tampa area himself when he doesn't have time to be selling refrigerators, doors, cars, and everything else. He's hanging out at Tampa Joe's. It is the one, the only, Mike Klein. Mike, how are you this evening?
Hey, great, Angel. How you doing?
Good. So obviously you and Kevin go a ways back. So the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say that Kevin's always been my favorite player from Wilmington, Delaware.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Hey, and I just want I was kind of blown away when I saw your smiling face up there, but I remember that first time we met at Vilmar Station, which was the original home base of the Philly of the South Club, when we used to have about 50 a week, and you showed up, and you and I had a great discussion, and then we hooked up again in Dallas. You took me to a Stars game, and of course I was wearing my Eagle green in the press box, which probably wasn't the right thing to do, but it's all good. But yeah, I was really cool to see you again. I just checked my phone. Really, all I wanted to say is if you could get my number from Angel and just give me a call, I'd love to hook up with you. And I actually got some business coming up in Dallas, and I know you guys are still out there in Fort Worth, and I'd love to see you again. And God bless you, and I love what you're doing. And go Phillies, go Eagles.
Yes, sir.
Go Birds. Thank
Go
you,
Birds.
Mikey. And by the way, it's Mike's number is not that hard. Just dial 911. Everybody picks it up because they already know it's either going to get Dallas or sucks, one of the two on the phone. And if I'm lying, Mikey, tell me, because anytime you see the man, great salesman. I will say that much.
Baby.
Mikey will walk around the room, and whatever if he can sell you a napkin, you're going to end up buying it, because as soon as he walks up to you, he'll tell you about the dogs, number one. And then it's just his personality, the way he ends up walking in the room. So, Mikey, as always, thank you very much. I know you called the other day. I'll catch you back up with you. It's just been crazy busy.
I'll get it.
Yeah,
Angel,
no
send me that
problem.
number. I don't have it on my phone. I've lost so many numbers, but
No,
yeah, send it to me.
and it's so. Yeah, you can put that number out. I mean, we sell T-shirts and everything, and we're averaging almost 400 Eagle fans a week at Tampa Joe's now. So, Dallas and Sucks will be there for the Pittsburgh game. So if you want to come by and get your pitch taken with them, it's all good.
Very nice.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right, Mikey, thank you,
Thanks,
man.
Mike.
All right. See you.
So that was the Mike Klein, president of Philly to South, the Eagles fan club down here. Listen, it's a great time. It's a party. I will say that much. It may not be as crazy as back home, but I will say there's times where it gets loud in the bar area. And we always tell people, if the game starts at 1, the doors open at 11, be there by 11:30, because at 11:40, the bar is solid filled with people. And when I have to set up myself, my camera and everything else in the corner, I end up taking up a table myself. So if anybody comes down, 9316 Anderson Road is where you will find the home of the Philly to South, and also, more importantly, Tampa Joe's, the restaurant. You can visit Tampa Joe's at tampajoes.com. Again, at 9316 Anderson Road, right off the airport. So if you fly in, you're coming in for a convention, getaway, whatever the case be, Eagles Sunday is where we're at Tampa Joe's. So I just want to put that out there. But, Kevin, I mean, we're hoping for, obviously, I mean, we saw Rob Thompson, first of all, has a lot of patience, because you're dealing with Hand. You're dealing with Dominguez. I mean, you brought in Hand, and again, you have to work with what you have. But Hand comes in, and you're biting your nails, because you're like, oh, my God, did that just happen? Then you bring in Dominguez, because Dominguez, I mean, he was lights out the night before. So you're like, all right, Dominguez is going to save the game. And then he walks in 2 runs on wild pitches. So, and again, you don't have much at your disposal. But then you bring in, obviously, your following pitcher and gets the job done. Well, the next two, because not so well that fair if it was for Anderson that came in afterwards. But, I mean, you have what you have in this, with this clubhouse. But everybody believes in that man. And at the end of the game, not only did he thank, obviously, his players, he thanked the staff. He thanked, the families. He thanked the wives. I mean, there's no more of a bigger class act than it comes to Rob Thompson. And I know it was a 2 or 3 year deal they locked him up for. I wish it would be a little bit longer, but I know they want to see what he's going to end up having. And minus, let's say, the 4 games are being played right now, do we see the Phillies? And I know 162 games, it's a long ways from now, but could we see the Phillies, I'll say even in the playoffs, I'm not going to say back in the World Series, do we see them as far as back in the playoffs for next season?
It depends. I mean, I think they're one starter away from being that elite team, and I keep telling everybody that they're going to make a run at the Grom. I know he and Wheeler played together in New York, right? So right. I just have a feeling that they're going to make a run out. I know people here in Texas want them to make a run at the Grom. But, I mean, that's just my feeling. But like I said, I think once the dust settles here once they get through this World Series, he can just settle down and just see because I mean, if they trust him with this team, he's going to tell them, look, this is what we need. This is what I want. And then they can go through it and see. So I just, the guys have responded to him, and that's what you want. You want the guys to respond to him. I don't see the daily stuff that's in the paper back home that you guys do, but it seems to me that he has control of the clubhouse. Like the guys respect him enough to say, hey, hey, what do you need me to do? Right? Do you need me to go out here and pitch? Do you need me to do whatever you need me to do? It's not one of those where it's just like it's that next man up type of feeling that I think that I see him. And he's calm too, right? You just see him on the edge of the dugout, just like he's out at a Sunday brunch, just hanging out, relaxing. Because he trusts these guys to do it, and I think the older guys there too will be able to help those younger guys. He doesn't have to say anything for them to go say something to somebody else, right? They respect him enough to go, hey, I got it. So, but I said I'm not in that clubhouse, but just seeing it and being, on the field in that clubhouse and knowing what guys are capable of doing, and that's what I think it is. It's the respect that they have for him.
I'll go to Dunkin Dad with this one, and Kevin, you can add to this as well. But so, Mike, we take a look at what Dombrowski, right? What he had to handle and endure for the last 2 years. They also talked about the Phillies talked about spending stupid money, and they were gonna, they're gonna win a championship in the whole 9 yards, and then you enter this season. Now, you add the last 2 COVID condensed years. Then this year you have the minor major league strike. Thankfully, that didn't last too long because I think with the fan base you already lost with the major one they had. This one they knew if it would have extended halfway throughout the season, it would have been detrimental to baseball. So add that, and everybody's still wondering what was going to happen with this organization. Now, they didn't spend a whole bunch of stupid money, but also he made the smart comment by saying he thinks he underpaid for Bryce Harper. Obviously saying because he's earned that money and probably more. So do we expect, Mike, for Dombrowski to make that stupid money move for next year? Because we know we have to build up the bullpen. Does he do it next year, or does he ride with what he has now and try to use kind of like the trickle-down economics to be able to build up his farm system?
Man, I think what we see now in sports is that there's such a finite window for you to sort of cross that threshold. You can build a little bit. You have to have free agents who are of Harper's stature, Wheeler's stature, Real Muto's stature. As Kevin said, if he wants to keep this thing going, they need one more quality starter. It could be a number 2 starter. It could be a 2-3 starter. But they need another guy out there where they're not crossing their fingers that they're getting the best version of Ranger Suarez tonight, or they're not getting the best version of a Zach Eflin tonight. You have to be able to look down that lineup and say, okay, you know what we were expecting Syndergaard to be, not really. Didn't pay too much for him, but is there somebody else out there that's floating around on like a Detroit or floating around someplace in Kansas City who this is a serviceable pitcher. He can come in. I can send him out every 5 days on the 3rd. He's going to give me 6 consistent innings and not have to worry about that. Not have to be stressed with the fact that, you know what, I'm starting Nola game 1, going to have Wheeler for 2, but that's backing me up that if I go back to Houston, I know I've got Wheeler ready to come back to the mound for this. If this is an elimination game for the Phillies in Game 6, having that one extra guy to go to in the pen. I mean, look at Houston. I mean, McCullers, Framber, Verlander. It's a deep rotation. And to Ryan's point, that's going to be the key. If the Phillies can get into the Astros bullpen, then I think you're good. I think Philadelphia will be good. But if those top 3 pitchers are just throwing peas, throwing beans every night, and they're hitting their spots, it's going to be tough because they gave up all those runs to Seattle. They come back and Alvarez hits a walk-off home run and it basically crushes the spirit of the Mariners and the series is over. But the Astros aren't going to lie down and go away. They're top to bottom. They are a phenomenal team. And all the talk about, Philly, we're going to bang trash cans, we're going to do the costumes, but we're removed from that now. Gray is gone, the manager's gone. Like they've evolved themselves into this team that they are now. They're pumping out 100 wins a year. You know, Altuve's not even hitting, and they're having this success. What was he, like 2 for 25 or 2 for like 29, 3 for 29 in that everything up to the series? Yeah, I mean, like, that's crazy. I mean, it's not like we're not talking about like, you know, Bryson Stock going like 1 for 25 and, you know, the world's going to change on that. But, you know, these are perennial MVP All-Star players top to end. I think to Kevin's point, yeah, Dombrowski is going to have to make that one more specific bullpen pitching move if he wants to keep this going. It doesn't have to be stupid money, but it has to be a quality acquisition in that pitching department. It has to be, because Philly, it's like, hold your breath, here comes the bullpen.
Yeah. That's true.
Can I
Kevin,
just
any
say something
follow-up?
real quick, Angel, in
Sure.
reference to your question? I pulled up this stat while you guys were talking. The Phillies ranked 25th in the majors in defensive runs saved during the regular season. They're tied with the 2003 Yankees as the lowest ranked team to reach the World Series in the 20-year history of the stat. So that is not sustainable. You know, they overcame it this year, but what are they going to do next year to correct that? If they can correct that and go out, like Mike said, and maybe not spend stupid money, but can add another player of a defensive quality, that they can bring him in. If they fix that, the Phillies can go on a nice run the next 4 or 5 years.
That they could. Caitlin, I don't know if you had any follow-up questions.
No, I just you're right. We talk about the starting pitching, but I still they need you can find a mid-level, you know, center fielder, you know, that can go get the ball for you. I just, you know, like I said, I don't think Marsh is the answer. There was somebody else that was out there. I can't remember who it was, but that might be somebody where they go if they don't go after DeGrom. But they need to find. You talk about the defense. They definitely need to do that. I mean, we saw it, right? Some of the balls that Reese was just completely whiffing on, missing just regular ground balls. So I mean, that's the stuff. It's just. But the thing is, those mental lapses, you know, that happens. But you see the rest of the guys seem to come and pick each other up. And I think that's just this team. It's just a scrappy. Hey, whatever happens, we've got it. But you know, they'll reevaluate that through the winter and see what they have, what they need. I don't know how much salary cap space they have, and go and just go from there. So, but they can bang it around with the best of them. And I'm not worried about the Astros pitching. It's just a matter of this could be a gigantic slugfest the entire time. So, you know, you're at the end of the year and it's all hands on deck for the next 8 days if it goes 7 games. So I mean, it's going to be fun for sure, and it'll be interesting to see how this, like I said, how this tomorrow night, those first few innings dictate. And yes, the trash can stuff, that's part of it. They opened Pandora's box once they let instant replay come into the game. Right? So I don't want to hear it. People talk about cheating. No, it's Major League Baseball's fault for doing it. It's not the Astros. Because as soon as you let that door open that door, you knew something like this was going to happen. So I don't want to hear about, they cheating out. No, they were using what they had. You didn't like it, you lost. That's fine. Yeah. That's a part of sports. You're going to find a way. If it's legal, they're going to find a way, right? Pine tar guys are using it.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
that's right.
Just,
true.
Guys do it. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's right.
True.
But that's just baseball, right? You know. But it's when I played, say there were 500 camera angles. Now there's 5,000. Right. I mean, instant replays made its way to the Little League World Series. I mean, are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous with how this is. That it's awful. It's awful. I have an umpire coming on my podcast next week too, so be ready for that one.
Ooh, that one ain't watching.
Umpire coming on.
There is a clip that I want to show from your podcast, but Caitlin, I don't know if you have any follow-up questions.
Yeah, I was just going to get some thoughts on jumping back to that. Talking about next year, you know, I know that Trey Turner got the Bryce blessing the middle of this year, but with the improvement of Stott and all of that, like what thoughts are around that potential, or do you think, you know, that's even a necessity, or what thoughts are around that?
all going to be the money, whatever. Like I said, I don't know what they have. I don't know what the minor league system has that they can bring up. But the biggest thing is going to be the arms, the bullpens, as far as how they're going to do it. I don't know if Eflin's still under contract. Like I said, I don't know if they try and trade him. They're going to sit down. They're going to between Dombrowski and Sam Fold. I didn't even know Sam was there. I played against Sam and Thompson, what their plans are, and even if what kind of coaches. If Thompson wants to bring in his own guys, right? You don't know what's going to happen there. So I mean, there's a lot of ifs, but you worry about the ifs in 8-9 days.
Yeah, that is true. But I will say, because on this show, all right, so we know there's people that may end up mimicking other shows. There's people that do whatever they feel like, because that's upon them. But the one thing I like to do personally here on Broad Street South is always to share the love with people that come on. For example, Dunkin Dad taking his time out tonight from No Filter, where you guys can find him on there on Fridays. And by the way, since he's here with me tonight, an amazing job what he did last week, from flying down to Florida, filling in for Miss Robin, to work with Tony Bruno, and never work with the equipment setup that Tony has at his house. So kudos to Mike for the outstanding job that he did last week. So Mike, I wanted to tell you that personally when you came on tonight, because that was not only a funny and hilarious show you guys put on last week, but the job that you did to fill in for Miss Robin, kudos to you, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much. And it was deer in the headlights for a couple minutes, because one of the boards that was already pre-programmed is set with opens and closes. It just wouldn't power on. And I was like, oh, crap, here we go. What do I have to do? So video chatting from the Netherlands to Cape Coral. I'm pulling out wires and cords and plugs and, 3.5, all over the place. I'm playing. We got through it. It was good. It was a great learning experience. What's that, sir?
A lot of pressure, isn't it?
Oh, tons of pressure. And then, of course,
you're doing that in the middle of Citizens Bank Park, and you can't figure out your ass and your elbow right there. People and fly. So just
exactly. And I'm looking across at Tony. I'm like, oh my god. Like, let's just get him on the air. But yeah, it was awesome. And thanks to everybody. Thanks for the support. I love it. As Angel said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, about 12:15 Eastern time, I do something called One More Quarter. Real basic. It's like an introspective between how life, sports, everything in between all intersects. We see it in our lives. We see it played out in the real world. Let's all pick lessons from it. Use your common sense. You can take good from both sides of any story. Just find the truth. Form your own opinion. Be yourself. And then Friday evenings after Tony's show, I do Into the Nightcap with Play Action Real, John from Mayfair, Penguin AZ. And that's sort of just like a potpourri, free-for-all, fun, sit down, have a beer with the guys, and let everything out. And it's wonderful. It's been a great time, great experience. And I've always followed Broad Street South, my own little pod area and pod arena. I know about Angel, what's going on. So this is a big honor to be here with you guys, and it's great because the more network we can do, the more working together, exposing everybody to all the different stories and opinions, the passions. It's great. It's really wonderful. So thank you again, Angel.
Well, no problem. And thank you for saying what you just said there. And that's why we keep Ryan in the closet. And then when we need him, we take him out of the closet, because then he adds more to it. But no, Ryan always, when he comes, he's always coming full swing, no matter what it is. And if Fuji was here, he likes to call him the ring chaser, but it's only because he used to root for Dallas. He gave up with Jerry Jones, just like a lot of people did. Roots for Kansas City, and Kansas City kind of teams, changing their season around. Mm-hmm. Denver, I don't know what's going to happen there, because boy, oh boy, that is becoming quite the train wreck really, really, really fast. So, but no, the reason why I said it, because as I've been showing, obviously, Kevin with the big head pod with the logo in the background, because him starting up with the Dub Network and then having his show, there was one in particular that I really liked that I'm going to bring up here so that everyone can see. And again, you can like and subscribe not only to the Dub Network, but obviously to Kevin's show as well. So let me bring this up to share with everyone.
I'm going to have to watch this golf swing at some point. I'm picturing a kind of a Charles Barkley-esque type thing. But
man, that's disrespectful. See, now if I shut the computer down, you're going to feel real bad. Man, my swing look way better than Charles Barkley. Man, you have lost your mind, bro. man, my swing like Davis Love III. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes, like I said, you could be. It's the interaction that you have. You've always had that, even as a player, being out in the field talking to guys. Just, it was fun. It was boisterous, and it was that's just part of your game, isn't it? Just being that, especially where you are, middle infielder, you get to talk to everybody. So many people come running by. I'm sure you always had a comment for everybody and anybody that came by.
Definitely. You got to keep the game fun, man. The game is long enough, and it's definitely the hardest sport to play. So you got to keep the game fun, keep it interesting, talk a little trash, have a little fun with it. Before you know it, man, it's the 9th inning.
So, Kevin, first of all, it got to be a lot of fun talking to some of these players. Now, obviously, that was a good one there, but it has to be so much fun to hear the backstories from stuff maybe that you missed from your own playing days.
It is, and that's part of it. It's just a matter of, it's just an unfiltered, unscripted. People go, what kind of questions do you ask? I don't know. We just sit down and just start talking. And I've known Orlando forever, and that's how he is on the field. You'll be running past that, hit a double or something. He's sitting there, he's running his mouth saying something. It's just, that's the stuff that I missed from playing those days. But I think at one point he talked about, if you hang up this computer right now. Right, because we were supposed to do it, I think, a couple weeks before, and I said, well, you got to pretty yourself up. He said, yeah, man, I got to have my beautiful face. I can't just call in. I got to have the video. That's just the way he is, and that's what I like, the personality these guys have, because you guys don't get to see that type of stuff. Because he would sit on the field, and that's all he would do. He'd get out there, start talking. Brandon Phillips, same way, they get out there and they just start yapping everything left and right. But that's the stuff, you hear those different stories. Had a Philly guy on there, Bob File from Philadelphia Textile, was on there talking about. He played with Orlando, so I mean, I think I went through a run of Blue Jays forever of doing that stuff. So I mean, it's funny. These guys have stories that you guys don't get a chance to hear. So that's just about what it is. It's basically just locker room talk, just hanging out and catching up, seeing what guys are doing.
No, and as I said to you before when I sent you a message earlier today, I like it because it's smooth. Like, you make everybody feel at home, which is nice because your podcast runs really, really smooth from beginning to end. I like the interaction. We talked about John beforehand and his some of his colorful commentary, and it's fun because, again, you get to hear something. Because, listen, if you follow the man in baseball, there had to be times where he had to talk so much in that locker room that we couldn't hear like we do like now. You have the boom mics that they follow the guys out in the dugout, not as much in the locker room, but he was just, Roger was just one of those guys that he was just multi-colorful, to put it at best. Wow. But and for you guys to end up missing again on YouTube, the Big Head Pod, you guys find it's good ones, because you also, the one thing I will respect from you as well as and being former military is the guys you end up talking to and the stories you hear. Like the one Lance Corporal that was Marines, and he said the reason why he had joined because it was his grandfather, if I remember correctly, had told him to join. And then they already had the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, so he was the last one to be in the Marines. And then also talked about his experience there, that he wasn't the best soldier when they had to do, DNC and everything else. But when it came to wartime, to his deployment, he felt like that was his game time. And he compared it to what he wanted to do. So, again, kudos to you, because these are stories that should be heard that you won't hear from other places. So I respect you for that, and thank you for the job you do just on your show alone, and obviously the years you had for Major League Baseball.
It's, like I said, once I got out, I got tied in with those guys through one of the U.S. Army guys that talked about the amputees, and that's how I kind of got tied in with the military side. And then like you said, one guy knows another guy, and I had Denver on last week, and that movie's coming out. It's premiering out here called MVP, Merging Vets and Players. It's premiering here, and I think next week they're having a big showing here, and then I'm not sure of where it's going to go from there. But Nate Boyer is the actor in the movie, and Sylvester Stallone, of all people, is producing it. So it's a really good movie. And, you get a chance to listen to Denver's story about, especially right now, as far as mental health is really big. And when Denver started talking about trying to commit suicide twice, right? And he's telling his story about where it led him and how this has helped, because, coming out, you've been in the military, being a press athlete, coming out, sometimes people don't have an identity, right? That's all they know.
Right.
And that's what Denver's trying to create with this Merging Vets and Players, where they get together. How's military and a professional athlete going to merge? And they realize that wait, they're both. It's an identity they're seeking. If you watched that one, didn't you, Angel? As far as when Denver, when Nate walked in the room and he basically told him, he goes, "Get out of here," right? He goes, "I don't care who you are." He goes, "Get out of here," and you could tell that was bottom. And Nate, being former Green Beret and an athlete, was able to understand it. I think Denver said, he goes, "I really like you." Patted him on the back. He goes, "I like you a lot." So Denver goes, "I don't care." He goes, "Get out of here." So, and it's funny. Denver's story he's only in his mid-30s. So this is just recent stuff that he's been through, and that's what I'm trying to do, because some guys don't want to talk about it. Some do. You were talking about one of the other guys was the amputee, and he lost his leg below, just about halfway up his calf, and one of his guys in the unit came by and goes, here's your toes, and he goes, "I'm not worried about my toes." He was worried about his schreckle. He goes, "Somebody grab it, make sure it's still there." And he goes, "Yes, that's all he was worried." You know what I mean? But that's what some guys don't want to talk about. Some guys are more open with it. So, and I think that's what Denver's trying to create, is this atmosphere of, it's okay, even if you're not military or an athlete, you just need somebody to talk to. And that's what they're trying to create, and they're trying to do it, as many of the cities where there's professional sports teams, because everybody's dealing with it. It's just a matter of getting them to, open up about it. And Denver goes, "Yeah, I can tell," but seeing guys of knowing they're not ready for it, but then other guys are. So, and it's good, especially for like I said, all aspects of life. You don't have to be that, but what he's doing is tremendous, and the people that he's reaching, right? His story is like, he says, if I help one person today, I've done my job. Yep. And that's how we look at it. That's all he's trying to do. We're not trying to change the world. We're just trying to change one person, right? Because one person helps one person, and that's all he's trying to do.
That's so true, because we have a show on Mondays called Coaching Sessions, and that's where we try to see. We don't bring like the normal psychiatrist thing where they tell you what you want to hear, not what you're expressing, not what you're sharing. It's like, well, Caitlin, I noticed that you're very depressed today. Is there something you want to tell me? And then Caitlin says what she has to say. But no matter what Caitlin says, in the end, it's going to be like, well, Caitlin, I want to tell you that I hear what you're saying, but I get this prescription here. It's going to make you feel funny for a couple of days, but then, get back to us and let us know how you feel. We, on Monday nights, we pick a topic and we go off that topic, whatever the case may be, minus the politics, but everything else we bring in, whether it be in social media, whether it be in personalities, you name it, and that's what we try to do. We just try to bring a different spin on it, because I work with 2 life coaches out of the Bahamas, and talking to them, it's more of the spiritual aspect of things, and they make you feel more at home, versus if you talk to someone that they have their PhD degree on the back wall, and whether being from Yale or Harvard or anything else, and not mocking any university or anybody who has their degree, but you rather connect with someone that has been through it and understands you a lot more, versus in hearing the normal, like, okay, you got 45 minutes, the clock starts, let's go. I'd rather talk to somebody like yourself, like the way you end up doing it on your show, that you can hear the experience from anyone who's been in the military, because PTSD, number one, that stuff is completely real. And some people know how to deal with it, some others don't. I've been fortunate that I've been able to learn how to cope with it for many, many years. And every once in a while, you'll get a flashback, but thankfully I don't go on any rampage. I just close down, I shut down for a little bit, reset, and I keep things going. So, again, kudos to you for what you're doing, and we do appreciate it. And I got about a bonus minute here or two. Caitlin, I know that you've been very quiet because we haven't gone to you a lot tonight, which I'm going to bring you back on as well. But is Doc Rivers, to wrap up the show here with the Sixers, is Doc Rivers on the hot seat?
150, 200%. Absolutely. We were talking before we jumped on live that I truly believe that, they redid the roster, brought in all these new people, thinking it was going to be a total reset, a total difference from the past couple seasons, and then came back and Doc had the same plan for players that are different, for PJ Tucker, for, Montrezl Harrell, like people that are new, they're supposed to bring a different energy, and it's the same game plan that's just, I think everybody's just immediately disheartened by it. So, yes, absolutely, I believe so.
That's stupid, man. Flyers, too, that's how you learn how the team is built, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? It wasn't fully broken. There was a couple pieces, but you make too much of a change, right? Now the entire atmosphere changes, but the coach wants to say. So I don't know how much Doc had in that say, but there's been a lot of turnover through that, and now the guys are kind of lost, right? I mean, you're looking at same thing, right? They've been hammering Chuck Fletcher, right? Since with all this stuff with the Flyers, I expected them to lose 81 games this year. I mean, it's just how they've been playing. But those guys probably rallied around themselves and figured it out. But with injuries and guys that they didn't sign, right? I mean, you know how the fan base is. They wanted Johnny Gaudreau. He wanted to come home. They couldn't make it work. They've got this. They've got Carter Hart, this great goalie, great, and he was really bad for a while, right? But you guys know how it is. The Philly media can really, really deflate a team and an individual, especially one, if they run their mouth and they don't do their job.
Yeah.
Two, if it's the team is supposed to be this way and it's not, and they're going to find somebody to go after, right? If you shut up, do your job, and they don't, Philly fans don't care, right? I mean, right? We throw snowballs at Santa Claus, right? Because you got to make him work for it, and that's the mentality they have, and you're seeing it with the Sixers right now. They're lost. You're saying basically core guys, but their complementary pieces aren't what they're used to, right? I'm looking to pass right, and he's going left, right? And I'm looking to get inbounds this way, and they're lost because there's been too much, right? There's such thing as doing too much to try and change, right? You said trying to change the culture, and it's not. You look now. It's all right. Same with the Eagles now, right? We've got pieces we need. All right, and Howie goes out and makes the trade for Robert Quinn, and we're still talking about other stuff, but they have their core guys. It's not a revamp.
Right.
The revamp starts when they start bringing in a coach. That's when you revamp, right? You don't keep your coach and try and change. What do they carry? 12 guys, 15 guys, and you can't change out 11 of them and keep the same coach and expect the same thing, right? You can change out 2 or 3 and do it, and that's just sometimes it's just too much. And like I said, I think right now they're lost. But at some point, how long is it going to take before they figure it out or before Doc's gone? So I don't know. But it seems like Torts has got the Flyers in order as far as what I think he benched Hayes and Konechny a couple weeks ago. Right? And he's not going to take it. That's an old school guy, right? I think Doc is an old school guy, but I don't know what was brought in. Sirianni seems like I don't know. I can't tell if he's an old school or new school guy. I think there's a lot of veterans on this team that I think that he's kind of ingrained to. That football, you can't really go old, new school really, but the other sports you can. So I mean, you just look at the roster and how they're designed, and the coaches and how they are, and how these teams are preparing. I mean, even what the Union are right there in the conference finals for soccer. I don't watch much soccer, but seeing, I'm sure that there seems to be that same the way that the team is built around a coach or a player that's the old school, where, hey guys, rally together, let's figure this out. And I think it's just a matter of time before the Sixers either figure that out or Doc's gone. Sorry,
one bold statement about the Sixers. One bold statement about the Sixers. This is my take. Joel Embiid, come on, buddy. Joel Embiid. They let Jimmy Butler go. The whole Ben Simmons thing. Now they're off to a bad start. Something's got to give, and I predict that this will be Joel Embiid's last year in Philadelphia. Because of Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, the start of this season, I think he's had enough. And he's basically saying to the organization at this point, I've done all you've asked me to do. What have you done for me? You really haven't done anything. I'm going to bounce. So
it could be a possibility, but I think before that happens, I don't think they want obviously Joel to walk. So if anything, I think they just let Doc go. But then the problem is, who do you find to replace Doc Rivers? Because at this point, any good coach that's been out there has been scooped up by someone, whether they're an assistant coach or their bench coach or their head coach themselves. So, Sam Cassell would be good. You're right. He could end up turning the team around. But again, it's going to come down to what the brass is going to end up doing. So that'll be another chat for another day, because we've already got into some bonus time here. And we'll leave that on that high kind of low note, because we will see what happens. It's a long NBA season. We know this, and we hope the Sixers get it turned around, because the Flyers are finally trying, because after all them years spending all that money on Gritty, because that's the only thing they cared about, they finally care about his team, and we'll see where the Flyers go with that one. But with all that being said, we thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Caitlin, if you'd like to share all your social media so people get a hold of you as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm on Twitter at _C8LIN. And yeah, see a lot of Phillies and Sixers chat on there. So.
And which we'll have you back again for some more Sixers talk, because again we're going to see what's going to end up happening there. And Kevin, of course, please let everyone know how they get a hold of you as well.
Just Kevin Mench 28, Twitter, Instagram, whatever's out there. I'm on all of it. So I'm all social media. I'm just trying to. I can never figure it out when I was playing why people need to know I'm at the grocery store. But whatever. I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to get back to it. So hopefully the next time I post something, it'll be on Saturday in Houston.
Oh, that would be good. No, listen, I don't. That's the one part of.
Days, they're going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be fun. But that's one thing I will say about social media. I never understood when people are like, "I'm in the restroom now," or "I just went over here now." But I don't need to know what you're doing every single minute. It's just a highlight, a nice little highlight, not anything else. That's just it's a little bit too much. But nonetheless, listen, thank you to everyone tuning in once again. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can always visit us on broadstreetsouth.com, broadstsouth.com. Follow us on social media. It helps us out to build the numbers and do great things and keep connected with great people like Kevin and Caitlin and the Dunkin Dad, which I knew he had stuff to take care of tonight. But we thank everyone for tuning in. Sean, Ryan, once again, thank you guys. For my producer over at Studio B, Debbie, we thank you for tuning in live here in Tampa, Florida from the LG Direct Sales Solutions Studios. We will see you guys pregame on Sunday, if not before that, when it comes to the Phillies. So everyone, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.